I just want to tell you a story to open up. Have you ever been in a place where you felt very unprepared? You found yourself in an important situation, one of those situations where you can't really be unprepared, but you found that either through your procrastination or perhaps through a misunderstanding or things out of your control, you are in a situation that you really should be prepared for, but you are completely unprepared. I'll tell you what comes to my mind, because one really stands out for me. And it was a mission trip that I took. I had just become a pastor, and I was with a professor who was just an incredible man. His name was Dr. Deemer, a brilliant man. And we went with a very small team to Russia. And the very first night that we got there, it was going to be Dr. Deemer just showing us how things worked. So we went to a Russian Orthodox church, which is, everybody's different there. They dress differently, they worship differently, and I'm just like, wow, taking it all in. These buildings are huge and ornate and colorful and beautiful, and the construction is different than anything I've ever seen, and some of these churches are so old and ancient. And then I watched my professor get up and give this amazing message. And it was very different because he would speak, hello, I'm Dr. Deemer, and I'm from the United States of America. And then his interpreter would say what he just said to the congregation. And back and forth, he and the interpreter would go, and I'm like, wow, that would take some getting used to. And then as he's preaching, he just delivers this dynamic message, and when he's finished, he hands it back over to the speaker that was there. Dr. Deemer came, back down. He sat next to me. I was in the front row with him, and I kind of hit him on the shoulder. I'm like, man, that was just incredible, great job. So I'm getting ready to go, and the MC, the speaker, he looks at me and he says, are you a pastor? And I said, well, yeah, I am a pastor. And that was the wrong answer to that question. He said, you're next, come up. I had nothing prepared, and that was the fastest message I've ever prepared in my life, as I took 15 very slow steps, just trying to get something basic like a passage that I'm going to speak from. And I did my very best pushing through a message that I had not prepared for at all after going right after a dynamite message. It was a kind of a rough follow-up, but I pushed through it. I can say this. Whenever I go to a church now, I don't care if I'm on vacation and sitting in a church of 15,000 in the back row. You call on me, I have a message. I will never be caught like that again. It's not fun to be caught unprepared. Jesus has told us that at the end of this life, we will stand and give an account of our life that He bought with His own blood and gave us a mission to accomplish and gifts empowered by the Holy Spirit to carry it out. And we're actually going to be judged on how well we did with the mission of the man who died so that we could live. And a lot of people are really not prepared for that meeting. But we are meant to be living toward that day. Anyone who calls himself a Christ follower, that is supposed to be in our minds, fresh, focused. We know that we're living with purpose because one day we'll give an account for the way that we lived this day and tomorrow and the next day. So we can't go through each day without purpose or direction. And yet, I would say the average Christian in America does just that. Very little motivation, very little drive that's directly connected to the judgment that we are going to stand before.